What is up, everyone? OJ over here from PlayerEssence, and welcome to the repeat Nintendo Switch and gaming news video. Today, we have some questions that I'll be answering from the community, in addition to more of a correction as far as what Capcom has said about the Nintendo Switch in terms of support, and me just kind of going over why, like, when you hear something on the internet, please do not just have these knee-jerk reactions and think about the source of the article, think about what was said, and then think about what that person or the developer has said beforehand before you come to conclusions so quick. So we'll get into that at the end, but let's get into some questions here first. And this one comes from RetroDeath, who is a fantastic YouTuber. Make sure you check out his channel. He's also a guest on the Juices Loose podcast as well, so make sure you check out Terminator Juice too. So RetroDeath asks on Twitter, what are your top 5 games released and or confirmed already not for the Nintendo Switch that you would love to see appear on the Nintendo Switch? So this is interesting because he says games that are confirmed already, released and or confirmed already, but not for the Switch. So that would be like third-party stuff. I have a few games, but I'm not sure if I can think of 5 at this point, but I do have a few games. So Final Fantasy VII Remake would definitely be one of them. No order here, guys. So Final Fantasy VII Remake is a game that I really want to see on Nintendo Switch for obvious reasons. It's an RPG. I love RPGs. It is Final Fantasy. I'm a big fan of Final Fantasy, and it has my favorite Final Fantasy character of all time, which is Cloud. And so yeah, I want to see Final Fantasy VII Remake on the Nintendo Switch. I think it's a perfect fit since it's using Unreal Engine 4, and also because it can be played on the go and also can be played at home when you want to grind. Grinding in front of a TV, pressing a single button is not really fun at times, and I know Final Fantasy VII Remake is going to have a little bit different of a battle system as far as how you play it, but still, it would be nice to be able to lie down in bed, relax, and play the game and grind and do what you need to do. So I'd love to see Final Fantasy VII Remake. Another game that is confirmed and already released at this point would be Nier Automata. I think that game would also be really good on the Nintendo Switch as well, just because, once again, it's a Japanese action RPG. It's from Platinum Games. They make fantastic titles. I've played it a little bit on the PS4, and I think it's great. I definitely think it's a good game, but I would love to see it on the Nintendo Switch just because I think that game would suit well, and I think it could sell a lot more and get Platinum Games more money than just being on PS4. So that's another game that I'd like to see. For the next game, Persona 5. I think out of all these games so far, Persona 5 would probably be the most natural fit just because it's a turn-based RPG. And Persona has a lot of these things to where you're going through, and it's like a social type of stuff that you do, and really you're just kind of like reading text, and it would just be nice to be able to play that just like lying down, relaxing, and not necessarily having to look at a big screen TV while sitting down in a chair. I would play Persona 5 in ridiculous ways on the PS4. I'd lie down on the ground and just be pressing the X button at times, so why not have it on a portable? We do know that Persona 4 Golden sold more than Persona 4 on the PS2, despite the huge install base difference between the PS Vita and the PS2. So I do feel that maybe potentially a Persona 5 Golden could come to Nintendo Switch at some point. So we'll see what happens in the future, but yes, Persona 5 is definitely one of those games as well. I think another one just out of what everyone else kind of wants is like Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts is confirmed, but not for the Switch at this point, so I think that game would also be pretty cool on the Switch as well. In terms of anything else, I'm not really sure. There might be another game, but I can't think of another one. But that was a fantastic question, RetroDeath. I do appreciate it. And yeah, what are you guys' top 5 games that you would like to see on the Nintendo Switch that's been confirmed, but maybe not on the Switch? Let me know in the comment section below. Alright, and moving on to the next question here comes from E3 Champ Blanc, and he says this. Just had a thought. Why would Nintendo be moving to a paid online as their usual service has worked fine for first-party Wii and Wii U games? So this one is a very, I want to say easy question to answer, but it's definitely a good question. So a lot of people, from what I understand, a lot of Nintendo fans that really don't dabble too much into online, they don't necessarily understand what was wrong with the online on the Wii and the Wii U, because they play Mario Kart. I'm like, hey, look, Mario Kart works fine, right? I can play Mario Kart. I might get a connection error here or there on the Wii or the Wii U, but still, it works fine, it runs smooth. Online's good, right? No, not necessarily the case. There's a lot of little details missing in Nintendo's online, and there's a lot of problems that encounter, especially with certain games like Smash Brothers. Smash Brothers on the Wii was really bad. The netcode on that game was really bad. I think also it was a product at the time that it was released, 2008. Internet connections were definitely not as good as they are at this point, but still the netcode wasn't very good at all. But Nintendo's online, when we talk about the full experience, we're not just talking about you playing the game and you seeing what's going on there. We're also talking about the experience of how you connect to other players, how the information is listed, what you do to connect to those players. So that's what all of online encompasses. It encompasses all of that, not just the actual fact of playing the game online. And that's where Nintendo's online is lacking, is in the other little details. Well, not little, but the other details. So for example, being able to send a simple friend request outside of just the game. So not built into the game, but built into the system. Being able to send a friend request or built into something. I don't care if it's an app or whatever the case is. I want to be able to have a friends list at all times, so I can access that at all times no matter what game that I'm playing, and I can send an invite to someone and it can pop up on their screen, or they can get that invite and be able to hop into that game from a universal system standpoint, from a universal standpoint, not just from a game-to-game basis. And that's the biggest problem with Nintendo's online. It's always been from a game-to-game basis, and many games that Nintendo's released has pretty much just missed or not had invites at all. So it's difficult to meet up with friends if you don't already have something planned out, maybe like let's say on Twitter or on something like that. The only game that I remember from a first-party standpoint that had friend invites from Nintendo was Bayonetta 2. That's the only game that had friend invites, and it was only within the game. So if someone was playing a different game, you weren't able to get a hold of them. So for example, if I'm playing Super Smash Brothers and someone else was playing, let's say, Paper Mario Color Splash, and I'm like, hey, you want to play Super Smash Brothers? There's no way for me to get a hold of them on their system for them to jump into the game. Miiverse is way too slow. Many people don't check that, and it's just not as smooth as it should be. So that's why they're moving to a paid online service, so they can get all of the other things, and also getting better servers, better net codes, investing into online, because online is a big investment. And for consoles, you definitely need to make sure that you have money flowing into that if you want to have better support. So the Nintendo Wii and Wii U's online were okay for being free, but definitely not up to what people's expectations are, especially in the console space. So that's the reason why they're charging for online, and hopefully we do get a better online system because of it. Alright, and last, we're going to be moving into what Capcom has said about Switch support and going forward with their IPs in the future. There was a huge controversy that I woke up to that people were sending me and saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe Capcom is basing their support off of an old Street Fighter game, which was never said. It was a mistranslation, of course. So let's get into the interview here and into some interesting tidbits. And I'm questioning lots of parts of this article, to be honest, as far as the translation goes. But let's go ahead and get into some of the key points of this article. President of Capcom says Resident Evil 7 and Monster Hunter Double Cross underperformed. Capcom were too cautious in sending retail store units of Resident Evil 7 at first, causing the title to have problems growing. Some users were encountering difficulties with the download version of Monster Hunter Double Cross, which he believes turned off other customers from buying the game. Users are happy with the quality of both Resident Evil 7 and Monster Hunter Double Cross, and sales have been good for the current fiscal quarter. Talks about the strength of selling games to other services via digital stores like PSN. Now moving into some other things here, I want to discuss what he says about the Nintendo Switch. And he says, in regards to Switch, this was the original translation. In regards to Switch, Capcom will think of how to support the Nintendo Switch while looking at how Street Fighter 2 does on the system in May, which that is incorrect, and this was bolded on there because of course people want to dramatize everything, and that is not the correct way of translation. That is not what actually happened. So here is the real translation, and I'm going to put the Japanese writing on here for you guys, and then I'm going to put exactly what was translated correctly, because they said that there was an update and a better translation thanks to Garu via NeoGAF. So here is the real translation, and this is what it said exactly. As Capcom, we aim to bring games to all platforms and continue our research. As for the Switch, in May we will release Ultra Street Fighter 2, and we plan our support while looking at the situation of the platform. Alright, he did not say looking at the sales of Street Fighter. He never mentioned the sales of Street Fighter at all. He just said, hey, we have a game that's coming out very soon, and of course we're going to be looking at the platform just like they're doing with every other platform as far as what they're going to be releasing on there. And of course people took this and they ran with it with the original one saying, oh, it's the sales. But the reason why I'm just a little bit like, why is this happening again, is because I wish that people, especially people that are reporting on stuff like this, would use a little bit better insight on what they've already reported on, or at least people would remember. Capcom helped Nintendo in terms of getting the RAM update up, alright? They're porting over the Resident Evil engine over to the system. Capcom knows that Monster Hunter is huge on the 3DS, and eventually they're going to bring it over to the Nintendo Switch. The Switch is selling very well. It's the top selling platform in Japan since it launched obviously there's going to be other Capcom titles. They are not looking at the sales of an old fighting game to determine if Monster Hunter, a franchise that's been hugely successful on Nintendo platforms, comes over to the Switch that's selling very well in Japan and that people want one. My whole issue with this is, even when I read this before I got the news that it was a mistranslation, I was like, this doesn't add up. What they've said about the system before, what they've been working on, how Capcom and Nintendo have been close does not work out to, oh yeah, well, we're going to base everything off an old fighting game. That doesn't make sense. Just like they didn't base support off of Street Fighter 4, an old port coming to Nintendo 3DS back when that system was launched. You know what I'm saying? Like, people just need to just use a little bit more just insight into what's went on before and just question some things, especially when you talk about these translations. We've seen it time and time again where there's translation after translation that's mistranslated and people start saying things that aren't true and all that. And while most of the stuff is probably right, that just doesn't seem right. It just didn't seem right when I first read it, and I knew it wasn't right based on what Capcom has said before. So they're porting over the RE engine, they work closely with Nintendo, and they're saying, okay, well, Nintendo, you know what? We're basing it not on the RE engine, not on everything else that we've done, not on the success of Monster Hunter that we've had on Nintendo platforms, but Street Fighter 2, an old game. That doesn't make sense, and Capcom isn't stupid. I know a lot of people think Capcom is stupid, so that's why they believe stuff like this as soon as it comes out and they don't question it, because a lot of people think that Capcom is dumb, so they're going to do dumb things like this, but Capcom is not dumb. It is what it is, guys, and hopefully if you guys could spread this video a little bit, because I'm already seeing other, content creators, other people on Twitter saying, oh, well, this is the truth, this is what they're saying. No, it's not. No, it's not. Capcom would never say anything that dumb this early into the life when they have a mega franchise like Monster Hunter. They're porting over the Resident Evil engine. Why would they all of a sudden say, well, we're basing it on Street Fighter 2? Doesn't make sense. They all know good and well that other stuff like RPGs are going to do better, like Monster Hunter, on a Nintendo system. So no, they're not basing Monster Hunter or their support on Street Fighter 2. That's absolutely ridiculous. It's ridiculous when you say it. It's ridiculous when you put it into perspective. That's just kind of how I think about it. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I would love to hear you guys' thoughts. Alright, Ninja, that wraps it up for this video here. Go ahead and give us a follow and a like on our Facebook, Twitter, all of that social media. It really helps us spread the content of PlayerEssence across YouTube and of course the internet. Also, if you want to get your question answered, make sure you follow me on Twitter. That's the best way to get a hold of me. Also, check out our Patreon page. We do have a giveaway for the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild Guardian amiibo. We'll be giving that away early June, so you can pledge any tier and be entered in to win that. In addition to some awesome perks such as Discord voice chat for all of our live streams and prize tournaments, like we're going to be having a Mario Kart 8 Deluxe prize tournament on May 31st for $10 eShop gift cards. So a lot of cool perks there. That's pretty much every single month, guys. Alright, Ninja, that wraps it up for this video here. Go ahead and hit that like button if you did like this video. Let me know you guys want more content like this going forward in the future. And subscribe to PlayerEssence for the latest news, reviews, discussions, and more. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you, Ninja, for the next video. Peace.